Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast brought by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Vin Infante, a licensed psychotherapist, mental performance coach, and full time entrepreneur. He blends classical psychology like DBT and CBT with modern coaching to sharpen focus for executives, entrepreneurs, and high performers across startups to hedge funds. As a former FDNY firefighter, Vin delivers private sessions, leadership workshops, and culture integration to drive real edge in business and mindset. With that being said, Vin, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Damn, man, what a great intro. I don't even think we have to talk anymore. The podcast is over.
I'm glad you like it, Ben. I was straight up to the point. Just trying to boost you up. Now, Vin, listen, I'm very grateful that you took the time today. I was looking forward to the conversation. So if you're ready, we're just going to jump right into it.
Let's go.
Love it. Awesome. What I love to do with every single one of my guests is a bit of traveling back in time, right? So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing was I always wanted to be a psychotherapist. So that was like a childhood dream of mine. And what I was doing before was I was trying to figure out my own life. I struggled a lot with my mental health issues, found that therapy never really helped me, which was kind of funny because I wanted to become a therapist myself. So, why this is actually important though is because through being in the field of psychotherapy as a client, I realized that there was just something fundamentally broken with the system. So, somewhere in my journey as I was becoming this therapist and working on it, I started saying to myself, like, I'm going to do something different. I didn't know what yet, but I definitely knew it was going to be different.
Hmm.
And I started off as a psychotherapist, just working anywhere I could. But I wound up having experience in all these different areas. I was in inpatient units, outpatients, hospital clinics, homeless shelters, private practice, Department of Education, did applied behavioral analysis. I was a traveling home therapist, and I really just learned a lot, but I also found it wasn't a great fit for me. From there, I was fortunate enough to become a firefighter, join the FDNY, served during COVID, which was also the catalyst for me to start doing my coaching business on the side. And in that time frame, I was actually able to start figuring out a few different ways that I could show up, do something better and different. And that is what gave birth to my hybrid that blends therapy, mentorship, and coaching. Eventually, I was able to resign from the fire department and go full time into my coaching business. And well, that's where it all started.
Yeah, you've been through a lot, Ben. You've
Nah.
you've tried a lot, you did a lot. No, but this is interesting though, because I was trying to fish in my mind, but I don't think I had anybody who basically took this angle towards the story or the journey, where you basically went through the system, you were trying to deal with your own things, and you realized, listen, man, there's something broken. Like this is not doing it for me, so I'm gonna do it differently, right? Which is beautiful, but great story, man. Let's talk about where this journey got you overall and what the business really looks like today. In this part of the podcast, my goal is to really bring the listeners closer to understanding who it is exactly that you're trying to help right now, but also what are those different core offerings that you have in place for your clients. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, at this point in my life, I've been really fortunate and blessed to help a lot of entrepreneurs and founders. I've worked with some phenomenal companies, some multi-billion dollar hedge funds, um, nine-figure entrepreneurs, 10-figure entrepreneurs or companies, and even some really cool pre-seed startups and some solopreneurs. I've kind of done a little bit of everything, but I think the biggest thing that I've seen is, for me at least, my fun is in working with highly driven, highly motivated founders. That could look like anything. I know it's pretty general, but I love the idea of working with someone who's got something that they're passionate about. I mean, that's how my business was formed, right? I saw a problem, I saw something that didn't exist, and I said, how the hell do I make this? And intrinsically, that's kind of what a founder is. So I just have a lot of fun getting into the weeds with people. And when people want to work with me, there's a few different ways that they'll do it. Is maybe they'll do it through a one-to-one coaching package where we'll meet bi-weekly or we'll meet monthly or we'll meet weekly. It really depends on what they need. I have some organizational packages where I work with people's whole teams. I've got one company right now that I coach about 30 to 40 of their mid-level management. And I have other companies where I
Oh,
work with their whole C-suite, like 10 people. And so there's a few different ways that people and companies can kind of work with me, but all of it is around focusing on how do we just optimize the people in your organization to give them either a better outlook on the business they're doing, the way they're operating within the organization, or just make it a more cohesive unit overall.
yeah. As you were talking about those founders and entrepreneurs, obviously this is something that you can strongly relate to yourself because it's similar to your journey. But at the same time, obviously you're balancing between the world of B2C and but also the B2B. So my question would be, where do you think the passion lies? What do you want to do more in the future?
You know, as I've grown into entrepreneurship, the thing that I've really come to realize is everything's relationships. See, relationships are rocket ships and they'll take you everywhere you want to go. However, you also need to genuinely cultivate them. You need to build them through being value driven and success driven as opposed to financially driven. And where I've been growing and evolving is actually almost outside of coaching. I've been hosting entrepreneur dinners. We do them monthly, where we bring together high level founders of all different kinds and we curate the room. It's an invite only experience where I have to personally text you. I don't email blast this. If I don't think you should be in the room, I won't call you. I won't text you. I'll just not even acknowledge you, honestly, not in a bad way, but we really want to bring the right people together. We're building a coaching community so that I can work with multitudes of people as opposed to just one-on-ones. And we're also building well, it's a little play on words. We call it not another mastermind. And we say it's not another mastermind because we really want to put emphasis on the fact that it's community. It's about just consistently having peer support, how you can grow through having other founders look at you, look at your company, look under the hood, and connect with you in a very genuine capacity while being at the same level as you so that, there isn't this disparity of like, well, hey, I'm running a $100 million company. You're a pre-seed startup founder. What are we going to get from one another? And I think that a lot of this world has been very disingenuous. I think that there's a lot of communities that aren't built properly, and that's why they collapse. And so, where I see myself is actually evolving a lot out of one to one and really becoming the guy that curates the rooms that people would like to be in.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, also it has been scientifically proven that we learn much better if we're part of like a community. You have the sense of belonging, you can educate yourself, but also see how the other people go through their journeys, which is something similar that you're going through. So there's a ton of benefits of really being inside such a community.
Mm.
But I do have a question though. This is a personal one, but at the end of the day, it is a business podcast. So I'm also wondering if this decision might have been done also through the lenses of scalability of your work. Obviously, if you serve many people at the same time, you can just have a one session a week, hop on a Zoom, and this done. So obviously, it puts you in a better position in terms of the scalability. So is it also driven by this or not?
Everything should be driven by scalability. The question is, what are you aiming to scale? See, my mission is to impact 1 billion lives positively. That's unscalable if you work one to one with people. But impact could look like many different things. If I were to coach you and you have a family at home and now you're a better father and a better husband, I've impacted 3 lives instead of one and that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. However, if you're a founder running a multi-$100 million organization, you employ a few hundred people and you have thousands of clients, I have the opportunity to help thousands of people, right? Through just that trickle down effect. However, even bigger than that is if I create communities. I bring lots of people together. And maybe I made a connection for you that changed your life. Maybe I said something to you that you took home. And I don't know what those will look like because rooms as they get bigger, the clarity of it becomes a little harder to find. But I think it's impact at scale. And that's what I'm looking to scale. I'm looking to scale values. I'm looking to scale impact. I'm looking to get to that billion. And ultimately, it has to take on a bigger life than just me sitting in a room like doing this great conversation. This will go to more listeners. So there's opportunity for scale there. But for the most part, this is how I'll sit with a coaching client. We sit here one to one. And where does that go? Well, not too far unless you're obviously working with a big trickle down effect. But I want to multiply that further.
1 billion.
A
Jesus
billion with
Christ.
a B.
A billion with a B. You're right. Man, I love it. I love it. Obviously, you set your eyes on it. For some reason, I don't really doubt that you're going to make it happen. So that's beautiful. But in terms of, let's also talk about the back end side of the business. Obviously, there is a lot of professionals when it comes to your industry. Everybody has a different system in place. Everybody has a different structure for the offer, the angle, yada, 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 right? But we all know that for all of you guys, it's one of the key components is building a good client acquisition system in place. So
Hmm.
what I also want to talk about is what is it that you do on the front of marketing and maybe specifically lead generation to make all of this even happen in the first place?
Sure. You know, it's funny. You said there's a lot of professionals in my industry. I don't think that's necessarily true. If you look, the average coach makes between 40 to $50,000 a year, will be broke and never have a successful coaching business. So I would debate you on that point, but that's not what this
Mm.
question's about, right? So let's just talk about this one. I think that every good professional does have a system. You're right. Um, for me, I found that the best system is word of mouth, is again, being value driven. And I have to keep stressing this because I think a lot of people, especially if they're coaches, are financially driven. They're how do I get money? I'm starving. I'm not able to survive. I can't pay the bills. What do I do? And if you wind up being value driven, where you say, hey, how can I help you? Who can I connect you with? Can I solve this problem for you? Can I do this thing for you that maybe, other people would charge for, but I'll just kind of do it because I can and I'm okay with it? You wind up starting to get dividends and multiples. So when I tried running ads, it never worked. When I tried spending tons of money on, all these different marketing gurus, it never worked. When I tried going into all these different places and avenues and seeing how can I throw money at a problem, it really didn't work. Yet when I started saying, how do I just put myself in a better position to be an expert to solve people's problems? How do I put myself in a better position to be invited to more rooms and to be in better spaces? It started exponentially multiplying the way that I was showing up and the way that I get clients. Now, how do I continue to manage and nurture those people? Is I have a really great CRM built out. I do biweekly newsletters. I run my podcast. So I'm always finding ways to provide value to people, and I do all that for free. I do my podcast for free. I do my newsletter for free. I just want to give people access. I run a free men's group every Thursday night. And I do a lot more than I'm asked for. Now, this other thing is bringing these rooms together. So I think there's a lot of systems that you could do even outside of marketing that would really be helpful, especially if you're a coach who can actually help people.
That is very true. That is very true. And there's also a lot of potential for you to create those strategic partnerships with other professionals and experts and just keep on bringing that value that you were referencing many times. But let me ask you this, though. I feel like you're the type of person who I can challenge anytime I want, and you're
Please.
just going to answer me. But whenever I talk about word of mouth and referrals specifically, there tends to be a lot of frustration because this source is great. Don't get me wrong; these are the best type of leads, but at the same time, it is very inconsistent. For example, in comparison with the paid advertisements that you mentioned before, right? So I guess my question is, what is your perspective on the inconsistency of it, and then how do you deal with it?
Hmm. It's an interesting thing. So if you don't go out and you don't network, it's extremely inconsistent, right? It's one of those things that you're kind of locked into. Like, hey, if you stop spending money on ads, guess what? It's extremely inconsistent too. So I think that there's a piece of it where you have to actually enjoy the networking thing. Because if you actually enjoy it and you make it a point, like I live in New York, man, I could find you 20 events every night if you want. You come out here, you'll be done with events for the rest of your life. So part of it's location, part of it's your ability to actually find the events, and then I think the other part is how good is your network. Referrals can
Hmm.
be so inconsistent, so inconsistent. But when you start knowing the right people and you start helping the right people, I think referrals just become like the absolute best source of trust and the best source of clients. Because, listen, you're probably on the internet, right? Are you more likely to buy something that you see randomly and probably need to see because what is modern psychology or modern marketing psychology I think says now people need to see something 15 times before they even consider buying it, Or if your best friend comes up to you and says, "Yo, this guy Vin just solved like my freaking most difficult problem,"
Mhm.
you should talk to him. Like, which one are you really gonna buy first?
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt that if you let your work and your results speak for you, there's no better source. I would definitely agree with you, and I'm also pretty sure that you just boosted the mood and energy for a lot of people listening to this, who are also kind of working with referrals and word of mouth. The biggest issue is though that I don't think people do it enough, right? So I mean, if you put it this way, yes, 100%. Can it be consistent if I do it on a weekly basis every single week for the next 24 months? 100%. But for most of the people, it's unlikely to sustain it,
You're
right?
right.
And that's why I think it's the reason for most of the people, this is not going to be the path. It's not going to be the right journey, right? But it's good to see that you figured it out for yourself. And if you actually make it a passion for yourself, like obviously you did, then yeah, it can be a great journey.
Well,
100%.
that's and you know what? You do right. Reiterating that point is like for me, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I have other businesses outside of this one. So,
Hmm.
even if coaching takes a little bit of a hit, I could lean on that a little. And similarly, I schedule in my networking stuff. It is like an actual commitment. I will go out to an event, I will meet people, I have a system. Once I meet someone, I follow up, tell them it was great to meet them. I send them a selfie when I meet them so they don't forget my face. And I plan a coffee, I plan a lunch, I plan a dinner, I plan something that follows up and gets me in-person time with them. I make the whole thing about them. I pay for them. I ask them, how can I help you? What are you looking for? All of these different things. And I make everything about the other people. And then by the
Yeah.
time the dinners or coffee or whatever is almost over, they realize they haven't asked me anything about me. And now they're like, oh my God, I'm a dick. How can I help you? And it makes people want to help me. And I don't do it in a disingenuous way, but it's
Yeah.
just coming back to like, how do you have a system that you challenge people where you challenge them to have your help and to want you around? And if you could figure that out and be value driven, ultimately things tend to really go well for you.
Yeah. The selfie is, by the way, an excellent idea. I like that.
Oh, you got it.
Cool.
You
But
got it.
we're going to move on from this because I feel like we could dive deeper and deeper and spend the next 60 minutes talking about this topic alone. But let me ask you this. Also, Vin, delegation has become one of the biggest topics for me on the podcast, right? Every single entrepreneur is going to get to it eventually, sooner or later. Eventually, you have to give the reins away and create an ecosystem that supports other people coming in, right? I'm
Always.
curious what it's like for you. Have you already built out your own internal teams, or is it a part of your plan in the future?
I think for me, it's more of a future plan. Um, like for instance, the probably the next person that I would bring in is a CMO or sorry, COO. I have a not a marketing guy. I have a social media guy who helps me with a lot of my stuff. I have business partners in every business I have outside of my coaching business. And so a lot of my load is definitely taken off by that. But I think when I think about the coaching business, scale is going to be something that will happen as these ranks start to fill up, right? Like once the mastermind gets bigger, once the community gets bigger, uh, it'll probably be a lot harder to manage than it is now, especially as I have these bigger goals to impact a billion lives. That's going to evolve. Like I'll have eventually maybe my own certification program where I'll teach coaches and all these other things. So definitely being able to scale is going to require delegation and people. Um, Most people stay stuck in it because they also don't think anybody could do their job as well as them. And they're right, actually. That's the funny thing. You just need to be able to find somebody that could do it maybe 80 to 90% as good as you. And if you
Very
found
true.
that, you got a great person to delegate to.
Very, very true. I mean, it's never going to be 100% you, the
No,
next you. It's just not
impossible.
going to happen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So until
Now,
cloning, I'll have to hand it off.
yeah. Now, I'm also curious though, before we wrap this up, we were talking a lot about growing, scaling, impacting a lot of people, billion with a B. So
The
I want to
B.
ask you, like, when you think about this kind of growth, out of everything, what would you say is going to be the biggest challenge to make it happen?
Let's see. I think the biggest challenge, it's a good question. I don't know what the biggest challenge would be. I think the biggest challenge would be if I just stop bringing people together. Like maybe that's the challenge, right? Is like continuing to find people to bring together. Because here's the thing about my goal with the B, is that the billion is actually it's a really beautiful open invite. I can't impact a billion lives by myself. So everybody that I come across has an opportunity to help me in some way so that we could spread a message together. So I
Hmm.
think if I stop finding people and I stop connecting with people, the ability to collaborate ends and the ability to get to the billion becomes extremely far out of reach. Um, so I think being able to consistently expand the network, build the deeper relationships, is probably going to be the toughest thing for me, honestly. The network that I have right now is pretty vast, but the question becomes how do you keep expanding that, right? There's 8 billion people on this planet. I, statistically speaking, I guess, have a couple thousand between my email list and my phone numbers. So there's a lot of people to meet, my man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, brother. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like you're planning to stop anytime soon.
Oh man, I'm in
So,
my 30s. I got a little while left in my life, right?
oh,
Why not?
yes, you do. Yes, you do. Beautiful. Hey, Vin, listen, I'm enjoying myself, maybe a little bit too much, but I just want to say thanks because this has been a great conversation, and I'm really grateful that you took the time to make an appearance on the podcast and share the journey with me and the audience. Now, if anybody from the listeners wanted to get in touch, reach out, maybe even work with you, what is the best way to go about it?
Best way is just check me out at my website. It's www.vincentinfante.life. You can find me on all the socials at vininfante. And I'm pretty all over Google if you Google my name. Not if you Google me for other things, just Google my name. So there's a lot of ways to get connected, and I'm always happy to have a conversation, as you might be able to tell if you listen to the episode before skipping to the end. So feel free to reach out to me, DM, and always happy to make a new friend or build a relationship.
Beautiful. Thanks again, brother. It was a pleasure.
Same here, man. Thank you.
Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or a coach, or you have an agency and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io. Get in touch with our team and discover how exactly we scaled our company from zero to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.